Welcome to the Elevate Your Leadership podcast series with U.S. Navy Special Operations veteran, CEO, and hockey fanatic Bob Pizzini. Bob discusses leadership, success, failure, defining moments, and hard lessons learned with guests who are intentional in their approach to leadership. Leadership is a perishable skill. Use it or lose it. In this series, entrepreneurs, industry executives, academics, public figures, and other highly effective professionals share their formulas for success with you.
Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Elevate Your Leadership podcast with me, your host, Bob Pizzini. Hopefully, you've watched all 67 or 68 episodes so far. And if you have, you know that I love to have discussions with people who I've known for a while. I've encountered them in some aspect of my professional or personal life. And these are people who have brought great value to me and my organization. And I know by you listening to this discussion, today's guest in particular is going to bring great value to you and your organization. So today we're going to talk about performance nutrition. Not just the word diet, but performance nutrition and how we can fuel our mind to fuel our body, to fuel our performance. I've been using this process since 2018 when I first met today's guest, Cheryl Zonkowski. And I'm going to read Cheryl's bio. Very impressive young lady for sure. Cheryl Zonkowski, founder of Catalyst Nutrition LLC, reviews and evaluates fueling, hydration, and recovery practices of her clients to identify ways to optimize their cognition, energy levels, and longevity. Your ability to think, your ability to have energy that lasts throughout the day, and longevity, thinking and energy that lasts throughout your entire professional life. And again, I'm living that right now. In this process, Cheryl guides clients through biomarker interpretation, develops lab work-driven interventions, and crafts personal meal plans and supplement recommendations. Most importantly, she helps clients gain confidence and optimize physical and cognitive performance by establishing or reestablishing a relationship with food and their body's hunger and satiety. How do you say that?
Satiety.
And satiety cues. Sorry, I forgot that. We rehearsed it earlier. Your satiety cues. Prior to establishing Catalyst Nutrition, Cheryl served as a performance dietitian for Naval Special Warfare for 9 years, with stops on both the East and West Coasts. During her time with the SEALs, she tirelessly advocated for and successfully implemented multiple profound programmatic changes that continue to serve operators today. In addition, she spent 5 years as the director of sports nutrition for the University of Florida Gators. How cool. The sports nutrition department's mission was counseling, education, and fueling, I love that word, fueling, over 750 student athletes based on the latest scientific evidence, laying the foundation for the approach Cheryl continues to utilize today. Cheryl is a member of the Collegiate Professional and Sports Dietitians Association, holds a bachelor's degree in food service science and human nutrition with a dual major in psychology, and earned a master's degree in exercise physiology. She holds multiple credentials, including registered dietitian, certified specialist in sports dietetics. Okay, I got that one. And there's only one more tricky word to go. And was a certified strength conditioning specialist for nearly a decade. Cheryl loves cooking, exercise, surfing, stand-up paddleboarding, and spending time with friends and family. She has completed multiple marathons, an ultra trail race, and a few Spartan events. Cheryl's favorite pastimes are training and exercising her 7 and 2-year-old Fox Red Labs, Cora and Ari, who never seem to tire out. It sounds like a lot, because this woman has done a lot. Cheryl, welcome to the Elevate Your Leadership podcast.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So cool. So I have to say, I was one of Cheryl's patients, I guess would be, is that the term?
Client.
A client. I was one of Cheryl's clients back in 2018 when I was going through a program designed, in my case, for veterans. It's also used for active duty special operations personnel, but in my case, I had already retired. And when we talk about lab work, I recall that we probably 17 or 18 biomarkers, I forget what it was, but very detailed evaluation of my lab work, and then a diet designed based on my goals within this period of time. And so very regimented, very specific, 3 meals a day. I remember the whole thing. How did you get started in performance food?
So I was very fortunate in it came to me through a conversation when I was a sophomore in college. I was actually psychology for the purpose of becoming pre-med. And I had a job because I went to an out-of-state school. So I, was generating my spending money. And I had a conversation with an athletic trainer, and they said something along the lines of, do you know that the athletic department has a full-time nutritionist, like somebody who actually teaches the athletes how to eat and hydrate and what, they should take in and what they shouldn't take in? And I was like, time out. You mean to tell me that there is a job where you get paid to work with athletes and talk about food all day? And I hunted this woman down, bless her heart, my mentor, Michelle Rockwell, who is a fabulous human being in addition to being a practitioner. And I got a meeting with her a few weeks later, and half hour into the meeting, she was like, so what are your plans for what you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, well, now I want to become you.
Wow.
And as luck would have it, or grace, whatever you want to call it, 3 years later, she actually left the athletic association and they hired me.
Wow.
And I did,
so your alma mater.
I did become her.
You went back to your school.
I did.
Wow. And became responsible for the nutrition for the entire athletic department. That's incredible.
It was awesome.
Prior to that, where did you grow up?
I'm born and raised New Jersey, Sayreville, small town.
Okay.
Yeah, blue collar. My father was a self-employed mechanic.
Okay, like where in New Jersey? Because I don't detect any New Jersey accent at all.
Oh, water, dog, coffee, and awesome.
Yeah.
And if I spend a week there, it's a little stronger.
It'll come back. Okay.
Yeah, it's Central Jersey. It's about 10 minutes from New Brunswick, which is where Rutgers University is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then, did you play sports as a kid?
I grew up. My predominant sport was soccer. And then in high school, I played soccer and volleyball.
Okay. All right. Pretty cool. Any high school jobs?
Sports Authority. I don't think they're open anymore. I think they've all closed.
They've probably been bought by Dick's or somebody.
Yeah, Dick's put them out of business. Yeah.
Okay, but that was your mainstay in high school.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So sports clearly a key part of your life overall. One of the things I write about in my book is the influence that our coaches have on us in our youth. Any memorable coaches or people who helped kind of shape you?
I have had a couple of memorable coaches, some amazing. I remember I must have been young, maybe 10, 11. We didn't have a goalie. So I played a lot of defense, so they turned me into a goalie.
Okay.
This was before like kids knew exactly what position they were going to be when they were like 2 years old. This is a while ago. Yeah. And it was one of those lessons in to be a team player, you sometimes have to play a position or take on a role that might not be your favorite all of the time, but it's what's in the best interest of the team.
Take one for the team.
Yep. So I learned that lesson very early on. And then in high school, I would say was fortunate enough to be captain. And what that brought in that time with those female athletes was some eating related concerns. So that's actually when I started understanding the dynamic between how well you fueled and then how well you performed on the field. Mm-hmm. So I've learned a lot from sports.
Yeah, for sure. And in my case, growing up with hockey, and I know you're a big part of our Warrior for Life Fund organization as well.
And my brothers played hockey, so I'm very familiar.
Super cool.
Yes.
Super cool. Yeah. So whatever the sport is, it's so important that it's part of an upbringing. It was for me. It was for you, and so many people that I know that are successful. Because sport is so much more than just the sport.
Yes.
There's the discipline, there's the camaraderie, there's the disappointment. There's so many things that go along with it, but it really matures. And coaching hockey for so long, I've seen these kids go from 5 and 6 years old to graduating high school, and you watch all these kids grow and become young men and young women, and it's really cool. So, how did the University of Florida hit your radar?
I do not love the weather in New Jersey. 5 or 6 months of gray every year is not my favorite thing. So I was chasing the sun, ideally the beach. And they told me a little fib that the beach was only 45 minutes away because Gainesville is landlocked right in the center of Florida. And it's more like an hour and a half to 2 hours on either side. But they got me anyway.
Okay, still worth the drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so I think you said 3 years later, your dream job became available. So did you finish school and go somewhere and come back?
So I was finishing my dietetic internship, which is required by the National Certifying Board for all registered dietitians. You have to do a required internship, kind of like a residency for doctors. You have certain rotations that you have to complete before you can sit for the national exam.
Ah, okay.
So I was finishing my dietetic internship and still working odd jobs.
Okay.
And I got a phone call from
You were still in Florida?
So I was in Columbia, South Carolina, actually.
Oh, okay.
I did my internship through Winthrop University.
Okay.
And the senior women's administrator at Florida gave me a call, and she's like, do you happen to be looking for jobs at the moment?
Wow.
And I said, as a matter of fact, I'm about to be in a month or two. And she said, let's have you visit.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So for your first job, to have a job of that level of visibility and responsibility, I mean, what was that like?
A lot of pressure. I learned a lot of very hard lessons. The one that I still talk to my team about to this day, and especially new onboarding team members, is the value of underpromising and overdelivering.
For sure.
Not the other way around. Unfortunately, at the time, it was myself, the director, and we had a full-time coordinator, so we split those 750 student athletes. And Florida was a very robust program for performance nutrition at the time. So we had 3 graduate interns, a small army of undergraduate volunteers, but Florida's a very competitive school. So every single coach wants themselves and their teams to be their priority, and you can only split 2 people into so many different pieces. So try to quell expectations, and when you have people with that kind of competitive edge, which is very driving and motivating, it sometimes results in not meeting their expectations of what was discussed.
Okay.
Yes.
So those were lessons learned.
Lessons learned, and some really great practices as far as timelines for expected turnarounds with regard to meeting with an athlete, or an athlete having labs drawn, or if a coach contacts you, the amount of time to contact that athlete. That then carried on through my career as far as the customer service piece of the business world. And especially, I mean, we're a branch of healthcare. Registered dietitians are allied healthcare providers. So we fall under a lot of the same rules, regulations, documentation as all healthcare providers do.
Okay. All right. So while you were there, did they share the recipe for Gatorade with you?
They did not share the recipe for Gatorade with me. But Catalyst does make a very good protein collagen pudding. So we've scientifically created some things of our own.
Yeah, no, that's cool. We had that pudding yesterday, and I'll discuss that a little bit. Cheryl provides a high-performance lunch for my team at iFly Virginia Beach. We're doing it a couple times a month now, and it's really, really cool. So you left Florida. What was after that?
I started with Naval Special Warfare in Coronado.
How did that materialize?
I am a product of networking for my entire career. So just meeting people, establishing rapport with people, promising the service, being true to your word, being a good person, making sure that when you say that you're going to do something, you do it to the best of your ability all the way through fruition. I mean, the callback from Florida was a great example of that. Nobody makes a 24-year-old relatively inexperienced person a director. And for the most part, to be fair, they wanted me to continue the quality of care that I had learned under Michelle Rockwell. They didn't want me to create my own. They wanted me to take what she had built, which was a very, very strong foundation, and maintain it and then take it to the next level. So the 100% her merit, and me having spent 3 years with her at that point, because I started shadowing with her in undergraduate, and then I received a dietetic internship, I received a master's internship where Florida covered my master's degree while I worked for the Athletic Association. So I had a lot of hands-on experience understanding what her program entailed. And then the Naval Special Warfare position, at one of our annual conferences for performance dietitians, I met Rob Skinner, who was the first performance dietitian here at Damneck. And he calls me one day while we're in the middle of Florida two-a-days with soccer, football, and volleyball, like going hot 20 hours a day, preseason. And he's like, I know that you're at Florida, but I'm pretty sure that you and I had a beer in a lobby at a conference, and you told me that you wanted to move to Southern California and learn to surf. He's like, how true is that? And I'm like, well, more so in this moment in time than ever. And he's like, have you ever thought about working with SEALs? And I mean, 5 years before he took the seat, those positions didn't exist.
Yeah.
So again, networking.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love to be considered for that position.
Wow. So did you pioneer the program out there?
I was their first performance dietitian embedded with the team. So they have Balboa
Yeah.
Hospital and they have clinical dietitians.
Yeah.
But I was the first embedded at Trade at One.
Okay. Holy cow. So
Awesome.
did you love SoCal? Did you love San Diego?
I did.
Yeah.
And I do. I know that it's changed a lot since I haven't been there since before COVID.
Okay.
So it's been a number of years, and
Yeah.
a lot of people tell me that it's changed. But not only the location, but the opportunity to see the training sites and onboard what food fueling opportunities
Yeah.
the individuals had throughout the different phases of training, and be able to kind of clean slate and say, okay, so this is where we are. This is where we need to go.
Uh-huh.
What are the phases to get us headed in that direction? So it was my opportunity, having continued the legacy at one place, to then start some of my own somewhere else.
That's pretty cool. So in that process, are there notable differences between athletic performance versus Navy SEAL?
The criteria from a training standpoint, different. Not necessarily phases of training when it comes to what they're doing in the weight room or what they're doing from a conditioning standpoint. So periodization of programs and all of those kinds of things. So that side of the performance is very similar. Obviously, what they're executing is different. The amount of time that they're required to sustain energy, infills, exfills, all those kinds of things, time on target, different requirements, but very similar mentalities. You make it through the selection process because you want to be the best. Like, you are an internally motivated individual that just won't say no.
Yeah.
Won't bring out. Athletes, they want to be champions. They want to, take out all of the competition to be at the top. And so very similar mindsets, which is phenomenal for me because I'm a very type A driven, internally driven individual. So leaving collegiate athletics was a little bit of a challenge for me because, one, I worked with such amazing people when I was at Florida and amazing athletes. Two, it was a really great tenure when I was there. I would like to think some of it was the food, maybe or maybe not. And I transitioned to an environment where, as a support entity, you don't see the wins and losses directly, necessarily. You are not on target or anywhere near it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it required a change in mindset and a change in understanding. However, in the grand scheme of things, a lot more weight to what was happening when it comes to the military entity.
Yeah, life and death versus wins and losses in a collegiate sporting event.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot more weight for sure. How long did you hold that position in San Diego?
So I was there for 3.5 years.
Okay.
Because Rob Skinner, who started the program at Dam Neck, actually took a job with, they are now the Washington Commanders. They were the Redskins back then.
Okay.
So he went into pro football sports and left his seat. And when he called me to say, hey, I'm leaving, do you know anybody who wants this job? And I was like, would they consider me? And he was like, give me a minute. And 3 months later, I transferred to Dam Neck.
Wow, that's cool. So for the listeners, Dam Neck is a base here in Virginia Beach, and it is the home base of Naval Special Warfare Development Group. Their official title, Naval Special Warfare Development Group. We refer to them as Dam Neck, just kind of generically speaking, because that's the base that they're on. But everybody else, the world knows this organization as SEAL Team 6. So you are now invited to be the, what was your title while you were there?
Performance dietitian.
Performance dietitian. So what was that like?
It's pretty incredible. So when people ask, I kind of explain it. And I was, again, very fortunate starting out at the West Coast because the center didn't have anybody for the students who were going through BUDS training.
Ah, okay.
So being attached to Trade at One with Group 1, they said, hey, can you come talk to the kids before Hell Week? Can you come over to the dining facility and work with the dining hall on what the students are eating during Hell Week? So I had this really incredible unintentional trajectory of seeing from the very, very onset of orientation through.
That's totally incredible. Yeah.
Working at Group 1. So when people ask me about my experience, I'm like, The center kind of is undergrad.
Okay.
In the relative scheme
Okay.
of things. I'm like, then if you make it to the teams, you're in grad school.
Okay.
And then when you go to DAMNEC, you're working on your doctorate.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a great comparison. So
It makes it a little bit more applicable, familiar for some people.
yeah. No, that's, I totally get that again, with my military mindset and my background, but that's a great way to have non-military people understand it as well. So I love that comparison. How long were you at DAMNEC?
So all in, I was a full-time government service employee for 9 years. And
Wow.
then my 10th year, they actually kept me on part-time with regard to the Biomarker program that I helped stand up that their teams are still utilizing to this day.
Okay. Let's talk about the Biomarker program a little bit. Just tell us what that is.
So you have basic health care where you go and you get your cholesterol tested, which is a lipid panel, or your glucose tested to see what your blood sugar levels are. Then when you get into performance, so whether it's athletic and or tactical, there are performance metrics that can be measured, tracked periodically to establish trends, track trends, recommend interventions from a dietary and supplement standpoint. And within Naval Special Warfare, the majority, predominantly all of the biomarkers were more standard medical care based initially.
Okay.
So this was the interest in growing the current capability that they had to draw blood, which every military installation has that capability from a healthcare standpoint, and start to look at markers that are relevant to performance. And how do you keep someone who has 10, 15 years of experience in the fight to then help train the newer guys coming through, because you have so much time and monetary investment in the individuals as they age. You want to encourage that longevity and personal longevity, health and wellness, but also career longevity. So we took a broad picture look of biomarkers and what is helpful in tracking health, performance, longevity, mitigating injury, optimally recovering when injured, things that are reflective of how well people are sleeping, the trend in hormone changes as athletes, they age.
For sure.
Just like regular humans, like not everything stays the same forever. Aging's not specifically kind to anybody for the most part.
Yeah.
So we took a look at all of those things and created a package and started testing once a year, once every 18 months. And then if things come back out of the ordinary, we do more frequent retests. But I just helped stand that up. There is now a current absolutely fabulous performance dietitian still embedded with the DAMNEC group who continues that program and has kind of teased out the metrics that maybe are not as valuable, didn't really show anything with regard to performance and longevity, put in new ones based on the latest scientific literature, which is why I genuinely enjoy my field as much as I do. Like, you could know 70% of the information and 3 days later it's different because a new study comes out.
Yeah.
So it's solving a lot of puzzles and putting together different things, and no human is one size fits all.
Yeah,
what motivates them, the way that they eat, the schedule with which they eat, their desires and cravings. So it's mentally stimulating for me all of the time.
Yeah. So and that's my experience is it's tailored, it's personalized. My cholesterol runs a little bit high, I think primarily due to my Italian heritage, but in the grand scheme of things, that's probably okay, as long as the triglycerides aren't getting out of control, and it's just that pesky little LDL. But having gone through all that, I have a tremendous understanding, and really, again, these are things I think people should learn very early in life, and then track it. And anything, we say in business and sports and others, if you can measure it, you can manage it. And I think health science has reached this turning point to where we can, and please correct me if I'm wrong or add on to this, but we take measurements early in our life, say in our 20s or so, and then we make comparisons when we're in our 50s or our 60s. Testosterone is the one thing that I'm aware of. There's a baseline that's different for people. So when you go have your testosterone checked when you're 50, the prescribed guideline is not necessarily where it needs to be. Is there anything you can?
So the reference range is very large for serum testosterone, which is everything contained in your entire body. Some of it is bound, some of it is freely available. There's a plethora of how accessible it is in between those two things. So yes, tracking rates of change is where the difference can come into the picture. So with aging, there is a decline for everyone. So women need testosterone as well. So declines in women, declines in men. You want to maintain for as long as you can where you start. And the thing that I think gets lost in the sauce is that we only know what we know so far. So some people naturally have slightly lower testosterone levels because their cellular receptors are so absorbent that their bodies just don't need to make more. So it's not that every single person needs to be 1100, 1200 and above. So it's relative to the individual, why, as you mentioned, the earlier on you capture things and the consistency in with which you track. So maybe when you're younger, it's only every 2 years or 5 years. But as you get a little bit older, you make sure that you 2.5 years, every 18 months sort of a thing to just make sure. And it's reactive to everything, how much you drink from an alcohol standpoint, how well you sleep every single night, how stressed you are with regard to like cortisol and other catabolic metrics from a stress management standpoint. So there's all these factors that go into the basket versus just, hey, take some tea. It'll bring your tea up. Right,
exactly. No, totally. And that's, I think there's, I don't know if gimmick is the right word, but there's a lot of advertisements that it's too basic, way too basic. Hey, here's how you can increase your testosterone. Maybe you don't need to. You can also have, or can you have testosterone that's too high?
You can. So there can be too much of a good thing because testosterone can bind iron. Too much iron in your blood can result in organ damage and things along those lines. So more isn't always necessarily better.
Yeah.
And even then, we only know what we know. So following like hemoglobin, hematocrit, red blood cell count, and all of those things, we keep an eye on with regard to testosterone hormone replacement therapy. But just because we're testing what's going on with red blood cells, it doesn't mean that there's something else underlying going on that we're not testing yet because we don't know that it shifts. So it's amazing that we have all of this literature and research and growing, study population beds, but we can only educate based on what we know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's full circle to your cholesterol point. Just because your cholesterol is elevated, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. You brought into the hereditary component, but your ratio of your HDL to your LDL is a factor. The amount of triglycerides that you have is a factor. If you are consuming a high processed sugar diet versus a high processed fat diet to contribute to those things, and then even the particle sizes of the HDL versus the LDL, you can have light fluffy water balloons circulating around that are much less likely to do damage to your vasculature versus spiky bulleted marbles that are like a cat on a carpet all throughout your bloodstream. So it's just it's so important to have individual metrics.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think I learned this later in my life, but I think the science also evolved in the last, say, 15 to 20 years.
100%.
Yeah, because again, these are things I think we should learn in our teens. And then establish good practices early to include, diet and monitoring and follow up. So how often, before we leave testosterone, I'm going to put you on the spot here and give you the ultimate test of testosterone. So how do you say, I went to Mexico recently and I did some stem cell therapy and they do this full lab panel, right? But when the labs come back, it's all in Spanish. How do you say testosterone in Spanish?
Je parle un petit français, monsieur. Je ne suis pas espagnol.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So, testosterona.
Oh, fancy.
Testosterona.
Okay.
And then also my proteinus totalis, my total protein.
Nice.
Right? So,
look at that.
Yeah. So,
good job.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a lot of fun. So, okay. So, moving on then to for the average person, I mean, we're talking about athletes, we're talking about special operations personnel in the U.S. military, and then you have just the civilian population. And part of my big interest with the civilian population in terms of high performance is business, leading in business, right? I'm a CEO of a company with 40 people. I've got to have mental clarity and physical energy that lasts me throughout the day, that lasts throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, throughout my entire career.
Absolutely.
For people entering the workforce who are now paying attention to this, if I'm in my 20s entering the workforce, how often should I have labs drawn, for example?
Well, I would start when you're 20 and then have them checked. If anything is insufficient, deficient, elevated, that should be retested based on what the marker is. So some things, if you do an intervention, you retest in 8 to 12 weeks. Some things you can retest in, 2 months. Some things you should wait, like hemoglobin A1C is an average of your blood sugar for the past 2 to 3 months. So that one you should almost wait 4 or 5 months to go get retested. So it really depends on the parameter. And if everything else is normal, you don't necessarily need to get a full panel redraw if it's just one thing that you are working on. But when people are young, I would say at least once every 5 years.
Okay.
Until you hit 30, early 30s, maybe mid 30s, and then going up to every 2.
Okay, every 2 years in your early 30s. And then when does it become more often than every 2 years?
It depends on your markers. So if you're pretty consistent, stable, everything is within normal limits, you can probably stay at every 2 years.
Okay.
If you know that you have something that's a little testy and you want to go back and keep an eye on it, then I would say probably once a year, if not once every 18 months.
Okay.
Especially if you're on a prescription medication to manage something, you want to keep an eye on it.
Okay. What about your average healthy, let's hypothetically say 60-year-old? Just generally healthy, maybe cholesterol runs a little high, maybe owns a business with 40 employees.
My friend, I know this guy.
Totally random, hypothetical, things are generally okay. Every year, every 6 months, is that too frequent or?
So I would say if lifestyle factors are similar, you can still get away with every 18 months to 2 years.
Okay.
If something about your lifestyle drastically changes, I would move it up to at least every year for the amount of time that lifestyle change is in existence. Start to establish a new pattern, and then you could maybe make it more further apart, or maybe you need to dial it in and make it closer together based on whatever the metric shifts are.
Yeah, okay. And you mentioned interventions earlier. So, I'm on a low dose statin for cholesterol. So that would be an example of an intervention I take.
Absolutely.
What are some other interventions that would be typical and atypical?
Okay. Well, nowadays nothing is atypical necessarily. Blood pressure medication, there's a lot of that. Statins or cholesterol management agents are very prevalent now. Now we have the giant GLP-1.
Yeah, right.
So, and that may not even, those prescriptions may not even be because something is out of whack. It may just be a request, an intervention, something for aesthetics. It may be concern of weight management from a longevity standpoint, wanting to be a little bit leaner to put less pressure on, joints, hips, knees, ankles, all those kinds of things. So what was GLP-1s? They would have been atypical 5-6 years ago. Now they are very typical.
Wow. Yeah. It's a great example.
So it changes.
It does.
It's very dynamic.
Yeah.
Which to me is exciting. Challenging, but exciting.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that, it changes every day. The dynamic changes every day, and it's a constant study or experiment. So with that, GLP-1, that's weight management for the most part. Statin, cholesterol. You mentioned blood pressure. Are there interventions to just boost performance in an otherwise healthy person? Are there interventions to boost performance, either mentally, physically?
Can you ask that question a different way?
Yeah. If for the average 60-year-old, my biomarkers say, you're average or you're in generally good health, but I want to go run a marathon, or I want to, take on either a physical challenge or a mental challenge. But, say for example, I want to go to grad school or do a PhD, which I wouldn't do a PhD. I've been to grad school. But it's a physical undertaking, but it's a mental undertaking. Are there interventions that I could do through diet primarily or through medication? Adderall would be like an extreme,
Yes.
outside of the norm example. But are there interventions that would give me an Adderall-like effect for purposes of study, for example?
So I'm a food first dietitian. So that's always where I would start. And based on whatever your biomarkers are now, we would look at how regulated is your blood sugar. What do your cholesterol levels look like? do you need more fiber in your diet? So they're finding, as far as the scientific literature goes, with regard to eating and blood sugar sensitivity or insulin sensitivity, there's a couple of different synonyms that you can put in there. But the more appropriately managed blood sugar over time is correlated with lower incidence of disease. And that's true with regard to things like Alzheimer's. And so from a cognitive decline standpoint. So blood sugar management is becoming a much more focused element when it comes to not only day-to-day energy, like do you feel like you need the 2 to 4 p.m. siesta sort of a deal,
right?
Or do you have mental clarity to power through your entire day and feel good at the end versus exhausted? So that's typically where I start with anyone, whether they're starting a new job or they're changing their lifestyle or they're going back to school, something along those lines, doing something a little bit more rigorous than they were doing in the recent history, is how well are you regulating your blood sugar throughout the day?
Okay, just through diet, without any pharmaceuticals.
Correct.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's a challenge because discipline gets involved. Sometimes cost gets involved depending on what budgetary allowances there are for groceries and things along those lines. So frequency of eating. So there's all of these trends and the media and all these, popular things. Moderation doesn't sell. It's not sexy.
Right.
So you got to give it a fun name. You got to change it to something else to make it your own. And it's not, as I mentioned earlier, I don't believe that fueling is one size fits all. I have some individual clients that function extremely well as vegetarian individuals. I have some clients who function really well as very low carbohydrate, animal-based individuals. The perfect storm is when you basically put a lot of processed animal products and a lot of processed carbohydrate products together. There's literature that supports both sides, especially when you are eating clean. Like you're eating food that you could pick up with your eyes and it doesn't need a label for you to be able to identify.
Yeah, okay.
So
unprocessed, basically.
Correct. And that's one of the reasons that I genuinely enjoy this, because we can see success on both sides of the spectrum, because that ties into individual preference, whether people prefer salty or sweet, or whether they trend towards plant-based or they trend towards animal-based. There's all these different things that we're still learning about, like the genome and genetics and all of those things that help drive, one, people's cravings, two, people's motivation. The household that they grew up with, they may have comfort affiliations with food.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing to me. Like all of these puzzle pieces come together to make a person. And it's like, okay, your powers combined as the super nerd on yourself, because you've been living in your body, and me being a super food geek, let's create the matrix.
Yeah, right.
And make this all come together for you.
Yeah.
So initially, hydration is a huge one. So I make sure that people are hydrating. And even that's not one size fits all when it comes to electrolyte management and things like that.
Is the formula, generally speaking, half your body weight in pounds is how many ounces one should consume every day?
Yes, so that's a great start. Half to 1 ounce per pound of total body weight. The 0.75 to 1 ounce is closer to when you're spending more time in unclimate controlled environments. It's hot and it's humid, or it's hot and it's dry, or you're cold and you're shivering when you're outside. People don't realize that the cold and the shivering also results in higher rates of fluid loss. They only think about like sweating buckets as far as higher rates of fluid loss. But if you spend a lot of time in climate controlled environments, then yes, a great starting point would be half of your body weight in ounces of fluid.
Okay.
Spacing them out throughout the day, sipping versus chugging, because initially people's first frustration is, I have to pee all the time. This is ridiculous and it's inconvenient. And it's like, well, don't go from drinking 1 liter a day to trying to drink 3.5. Of course you're going to have to pee every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So like 16 ounces for 3 to 5 days, 16 extra ounces, 3 to 5 days sort of a deal. The other thing is adding a little bit of salt, as long as there's no underlying blood pressure concerns, but just a little bit of sea salts to those, whatever they are, 1 liter.
Yeah.
I mean, now people are carrying around half gallon, so that's totally fine. Whatever is going to help you drink more. Hydrate.
It's my 32 ounce Nalgene.
There you go. Tried and true.
Yeah.
So sometimes just that little bit of sodium will help with cellular integrity and the fluid stay in circulation instead of it just being filtered very quickly through your kidneys.
What's kind of the ratio there, salt to water?
So I typically will just do a pinch or a half turn from a grinder into a 30-ounce Nalgene bottle. That is where I start people. Because sometimes a little bit will go a very long way. especially if people are eating very clean. Historically, if people were eating more processed foods, they were naturally getting higher amounts of sugar and higher amounts of salt. So as people transition closer to the eat local, sustainable, shop the perimeter of the grocery store, and things are less processed because you preserve things with salt and sugar, they're not realizing how much less sodium that they're getting on a regular basis the cleaner that they start to eat.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't necessarily tell people a very high amount of salt to start with, because it depends on where is their transition of processed food going.
Wow. Yeah, I went to a pizza making course a couple months ago, and believe it or not, it's all about the dough and the salt content, and in the sauce it's the salt content. And so pizza makers, pizzaiolos, they're very intentional in the amount of salt, and that's a taste and a digestion thing, but it's relative no matter what.
Absolutely.
So pretty cool. So you mentioned like vegetarian, or I'll use the word vegan. I tried to do the what is the animal protein meat called, or
Carnivore?
No, the stuff you can buy at the grocery store. The it's not meat, or what is it called? It's the
Impossible.
Yeah,
that's one. There's multiple now.
Yeah, right. So do you have any professional opinion on having Impossible Burger versus having a Wagyu beef burger?
So I will pigeonhole myself a little, but not too much. In full professional transparency, I have a hard time believing that following a certain diet or nutrition path is optimal if it results in you needing supplements.
Okay.
So supplements are meant to supplement the diet if there are periods in your life or phases in your life or lack of access to like people who are landlocked may not be able to get fresh salmon. You know what I mean? So if there are certain limitations, then yes, supplements have a time and a place, just like prescription medications. 100% no argument. But if you are intentionally consuming a certain lifestyle that results in you needing B6, B12 injections, taking iron, or you're on the other end of the spectrum with the carnivore and all animal-based foods, almost no fiber whatsoever. Like they have to be executed very intentionally, and they're typically like major lifestyle changes that if you have significant others and or family, the grocery list becomes very different very quickly.
For sure, yeah.
In addition to, as I mentioned, then requiring supplementation because your body is not able to either ingest or synthesize something that it absolutely requires. So if, as a practitioner, I have a hard time encouraging people to follow certain, what I would call extreme practices, knowing it's intentionally going to put them in deficit of some kind.
Yeah.
Everything else that's on the table, my practice involves meeting clients where they are, because as I talked about, like cultural, the way that you grow up in the foods that give you comfort, genetic predisposition, salty versus sweet, like all of those things, recommending, there's not a one size fits all fueling program, because one person could see amazing success and become the genetic optimal of what they are supposed to be, and the next person who may have the same age, height, and weight, which is how a lot of these formulas are calculated if you're doing something online. Now ChatGPT, it's a little bit better, but they could follow the exact same program and see either no success or take a step back in a different direction. So it's really important, in my opinion, for practitioners to meet clients where they are and help them figure out the best way to practice an optimized version of what that genre of fueling lifestyle is for them. Okay.
So I will just give you the results of my experiment, right? Because when that stuff came out, again, I'm just tracking my cholesterol, and I'm like, okay, this Impossible Beef, or this plant-based protein that's supposed to taste like a burger or a bratwurst or a hot dog or a meatball. I've tried them all, and I could get my palate to accept it. A lot like Frank's hot sauce or something. But something wasn't the same, and I didn't do like comparative lab testing. I didn't take it to that level, but I just did it for a while just to see how I felt. Was I more energetic, less energetic? Did I have more mental clarity, less mental clarity? And to be honest, I really didn't notice a difference. The only difference I did notice is I didn't seem to be satiated. I'm going back to that word there.
Good job.
Yeah, I didn't, I just felt I was more hungry more often when I was eating the, I guess, plant-based meat than if I ate, went to the grocery store and got some ground beef or, just a regular bratwurst or a regular steak or, all the other stuff. So for me, not a big difference other than I was hungry more often. Go ahead.
So if I can make 2 observations. The first one would be if something isn't made with protein content, fat content, fiber content is what regulates how quickly whatever carbohydrates you ingest become glucose, how quickly that glucose goes into your bloodstream, and then how quickly that blood glucose circulates with regard to your insulin response and then gets absorbed in other places. So if you take out protein and you replace it with more carbohydrates, you're not going to be satiated for as long. Your blood sugar levels could potentially become more erratic because there's now less protein components in your plate construction. The second observation would be when we talk about eating real food and shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, when you turn around those impossible products, you start sounding out words or needing to sound out words very quickly with the paragraph of ingredients that they have listed.
Yeah.
So arguably, again, depending on the person, is that a healthier substitution for something that cow, chicken, turkey, fish, sounded out this word on the back of the line.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And so I've gone back to what you just said, beef, cow, fish, chicken, turkey, and I just feel more energetic. I just feel like my days are more productive when I'm eating that stuff. Again, but in a way that's performance oriented. A lot of the stuff I learned from you a while ago, and the stuff that we all, a lot of us pay attention to today. You look at like Peter Attia and Huberman, and there's all these podcasts that people can listen to and pay attention. But it takes time to filter all that versus going to somebody like you and saying, I want to get the most out of my day. How can you help me do that? So how would you do that? Like, what's your client intake, or what's your process?
So we not only support local clients who have the option of in-person consults, or they can do virtual, but we also do virtual consults for clients who are not here.
Okay.
There is a pathway through our website that you can click, become a member, you create a username and password, and then there's a digital version of our nutrition questionnaire. There's an opportunity for you to submit any blood work that you have. It can be within whatever time frame that you want. There's a third submission opportunity for any body composition assessments or metrics that you may have, and then there's our informed consent sign.
Okay.
Signature sheet. And then once those documents are submitted, the website will prompt you to schedule an appointment. So we have Calendly where you can just go on and see what available time slots are. And then you can request in person or virtual through that.
Okay.
And then I get notified that I have a new client portfolio to review and the date and time of the appointment. What is nice is that we have embedded our website to make sure that everything is HIPAA compliant and secure from your submission to the folder that I receive it in, from a data security standpoint.
Right. Okay. And we're going to cover all this at the end, but just mention the website real quick right now.
So it is Catalyst Nutrition, CATALYZT nutrition.com.
Okay.
It's spelled a little funny to honor my dad.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I just now made that connection. So
yes, it's not me. I just happen to have not gotten married as of yet. But if I did, I wanted him to be acknowledged and honored in the title. Yeah.
No, very cool. Very cool. So a patient, they kind of fill all that out, and then what are some of the aspects of the initial kind of consultation or discussion? What are you asking a patient?
So
client,
as mentioned, I genuinely enjoy the fact that they are the expert on them.
Okay.
They have typically guinea pigged themselves through a couple of things. So you just mentioned, the Impossible Burger.
Yeah.
And they will say historically this worked for me, or historically this didn't work for me. And we'll get into one, motivation for change. How ready are they to onboard and implement recommendations? Because that's a really important acknowledgement and assessment. And that happens just within the conversation.
Okay.
Because sometimes people, they want to change, but they're not quite ready. So the changes either need to be smaller initially or baby stepped initially, or things that take a minimum impact on time and discipline and level of effort and those kinds of things.
This is where your psychology studies come into play.
I didn't plan it that way, but it's happened to have worked out.
Yep.
The nutrition questionnaire is basically a very rough outline. So we'll go through the front and the back, and it talks about pre-existing medical conditions within family members. It talks about history of injuries. It talks about how consistently you're sleeping, how long you're sleeping, do you feel rested when you wake up. Requested a list of supplements and medications. What's on the opposite side? Food sensitivities and intolerances. There is a requested, hey, give me what a 24-hour window could look like for you from a timing and what you're doing right now standpoint.
Okay.
Because then that kind of gives me a baseline of where to place newer interventions and suggestions in the framework of what they're already doing. Alcohol consumption is on there. Smoking and nicotine is on there. Activity level training plans are on there. And then requests for what they would like to see improved within 4 to 6 weeks. And then within 6 months.
Okay. And who is your typical client?
No such thing.
Right. Okay. Well, because as I was thinking about asking you that, it's like you have, because I want to talk more about executives in the workplace, and leaders who have these kind of high stress, high visibility jobs versus an athlete versus a military special operator. Are there distinct differences in your approach, just say within those three career fields, or is there a lot of overlap?
It's an in-person assessment. Because there are lots of high achievers, especially in the executive space, who have a very similar approach and mindset to life as a Navy SEAL or an elite level athlete. So mindset and interior motivation and drive don't necessarily exist only in one realm. They can be across the spectrum.
I want to take a minute to tell you about my book titled Elevate Your Leadership: How to Develop, Maintain, and Advance Lifelong Leadership. This book is based on my 26 years in U.S. Navy Special Operations and now 13 years in the private sector. Leadership is a perishable skill and a personal brand. In part 1, I guide you through building and applying your personal brand of leadership. Leadership also requires physical energy and mental clarity. In part 2, I go over the 6 key components of health and wellness and how you can apply these components every single day to become a great leader. This book is also breathable. What does that mean? It's 170 pages, 12-point font, with charts and graphs and pictures to break up the monotony of reading page after page. Finally, this book is available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and of course, RobertPizzini.com. Folks, I want to take a minute and talk about Breeden Construction. Breeden Construction built iFly Virginia Beach 10 years ago. And our building is solid. Why? Building a standard. Our standard is excellence. Visionary thinking, innovative design, dynamic solutions, and transformative growth. While others may see lofty ideals, we see the very foundation needed to construct a better future. This isn't just a promise we make to you, it's the standard we uphold. This is Breeden Construction. Learn more at breedenconstruction.com. Headquartered in Virginia with offices throughout Virginia and North Carolina, you can contact Breeden Construction directly at area code 804-364-4600. Breeden Construction, a national general contractor. Okay. So in the executive space, my objective is to as I've said a few times, have mental clarity and physical energy that lasts throughout the day. And I need that for several reasons. Number one, I have to make good decisions. Yes. Sometimes I have to make good decisions in a short amount of time without as much information as I would like to have. So I have to do the best I can with the information I have.
Yes.
And people around me have to see that I'm energetic and I'm thinking clearly and rationally, and I'm not letting emotion, rule the decision or the discussion or the day. And how does performance nutrition, how does food help me with that?
So we've already talked a little bit about hydration status. So the first 4 signs and symptoms of dehydration are fatigue, irritability, chronic aches and pains, and lethargy. So what are your hydration practices? Do you do anything for electrolytes? So those are some of the first things that we would talk about. The second things we would talk about is the timing of your fueling. So when I say the word fueling, it's ingestion of anything.
Okay.
So whether it's food, fluids, snack, people kind of get wrapped up in the word fueling, but performance applies to everyone. So on the executive side of the house, it 100% applies, from that critical thinking, emotional management, decision-making process, customer service capabilities have to do with how good you are feeling, how energized you are. You don't want to be overstimulated on, too much caffeine or focus medications.
Right.
Some people have the opposite effect to Adderall that other people do. So all of those things apply. But the pillars, in my opinion, are hydration and then timing and pairing of foods that you use as a fuel source.
Okay.
So those are the places that I start, and then we can graduate into the things that have to do with caffeine and nicotine utilization and supplements. So there's tiers, just like the undergraduate, graduate, PhD level. Where we kind of start is relative to the client. I will sometimes have a client come in who is, excuse the phrase, a dumpster fire when it comes to eating. But the only thing that they want to talk to me about is supplements. And supplements for most people is the 100th or the 10th percentage of a change. It's not the 50% of a change.
Yeah.
The rate of expectation for things to shift, the needle to shift, is much smaller when it comes to supplements most of the time. However, with that client, since that's what they're the most interested in and excited about, that's what we'll do first.
Okay.
And I'll keep asking the other questions. Have you tried this? Have you thought about this? Because it's not a one-stop shop.
Right.
The beauty of fueling is that no human's life is the same every single day. So my goal is to always to train the trainer. So to teach you how to build your plate in either reaction to what you experienced in the few hours prior or in anticipation of the things that are on your schedule to come. Sometimes there's zero predictability applied, but as long as you know the core principles, and sometimes an ounce of preparedness,
for sure,
will help with those things.
People ask me, I keynote, and the health and wellness of leaders and teams is my most requested and my most popular keynote. And it's a wonderful discussion. If you're looking for a keynote speaker, you can get a hold of me, Elevate Your Leadership, robertpizzini.com. But people ask me almost every time after the keynote, what do I eat for breakfast? What do I eat for lunch? And what do I eat for dinner? And I preface it with what works for me is.
Good job.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
So, but is there a general, I'm sure you get asked that a lot, but is there a general plan, a general dietary outline? There's not. Yeah.
So for individuals to be successful, based on my experience, it has to be personal.
Okay.
So there is literature that absolutely validates intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating. No argument. When done correctly. What correctly looks like depends on the person. Whether it's a 4-hour fuel, a 6-hour fuel, an 8-hour fuel, eating normally 5 days of the week and putting in 24-hour fat. Some people do, a 3-day fast once a quarter. So it's very custom to the person. But there are, in my opinion, some very core concepts. When most people put in time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting, they want to fuel from noon to 6 p.m. However,
for sure,
most humans who are doing some sort of movement or intentional workouts or training are doing them first thing in the morning, because if they don't do them first thing in the morning, their day takes off and it's over.
Yep.
But if you are intentionally breaking down and shearing muscle tissue with the intention of building it back better, you need to put fuel in at the end of that training session. Otherwise, you are staying in a predominantly catabolic state for your entire morning.
And what's catabolic?
Breakdown.
Okay.
Versus anabolic growth development.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you can absolutely do intermittent fasting and time restricted eating, but we need to have a talk about when personally somebody puts their workouts in place, and then make sure that we fuel and recover prior to and following, because otherwise you're unintentionally going to have muscle atrophy over time, which is the exact opposite effect of what you're going for.
Yeah.
So it 100% depends on the individual.
Okay. In that fueling process, there's a lot of discussion about protein. We've mentioned protein several times. My understanding is, as a general ratio of protein intake throughout the day, 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. What are your thoughts there?
It gets a little dicey, because if you have somebody who is very lean and they are maybe 15 to 18% body fat, so that means the majority of what their weight is metabolically active tissue. Their fat mass is low. Fat, brown fat and white fat, are a little bit different, but for the most part, fat is very minimally metabolically active. Whereas hair, nails, skin, organs all require protein building blocks structurally to exist. So if you have someone who's very lean, then yes, their protein requirements are very close to their total body weight. If you have someone who 40 to 50% of their body weight is fat mass, you are over ingesting protein. And that, in my opinion, is one example of where excess calories are still excess calories, even though they're coming from protein.
Okay.
So I am not a believer in a calorie is a calorie. I mean, I do understand and agree with the concept of you need to create a slight deficit to see loss. You do need to create an excess to see gain, 100%. But the macro piece is going to determine the composition of what's lost and the composition of what's gained.
Okay.
In that calorie deficit versus excess.
Okay. Speaking of protein, right? So there's some natural sources like eggs are, what is it, like 7 grams of protein or something like that?
In an egg, if you eat the whole egg.
If you eat the whole egg, and that's where I was going with this. So as somebody who watches my cholesterol, years and years ago, it's like, well, just eat the egg white. Then you can go buy egg whites, in a carton, and, this evil cholesterol-laden yolk you want to stay away from. I've been eating the yolk. So my wife and I do hard-boiled eggs every day, and I've been eating the whole egg, the yolk, probably consistently for 3 or 4 years now. And I think my my cholesterol is better since I started eating that yolk. Any thoughts there?
So of those 7 grams, 3 are in the whites, 4 are in the yolk, as far as grams of protein go, but also in the yolk are the majority of vitamins and minerals that is contained in the egg. Therefore, the cholesterol component also contained in the yolk. So yes, that is a source of dietary cholesterol. So if you think of us, because we are, as animals, our musculature contains and stores, and depending on the signal sent, can make cholesterol. So if you are eating something that is animal-based, you are ingesting the muscle tissue, this case, the embryo of a chicken, in that entity. So you're ingesting whatever cholesterol was contained in the muscle of that said animal. So you as a human are also, as I mentioned, making, retaining, and generating based on mom and dad. So this is where that, I genetically have high cholesterol component comes in. So yes, if mom and dad shared with you the genetics to make and retain more cholesterol than, say, the guy standing next to you, yes, your cholesterol is going to trend on the higher side than, say, the person standing next to you. However, what you are eating is not going to modify what your body is making and retaining from an internal cholesterol standpoint. So yes, if you cut out all red meat and you cut out all egg yolks, which is traditional recommendations from a cholesterol standpoint,
right,
you will see a slight shift in your cholesterol, but it's not going to change your genetic composition of what your body is making and retaining on its own. So to your point, you leave in egg yolks and your cholesterol is staying the same or improving slightly. What shifts, whether or not it's staying the same, improving, or going up, is actually the amount of fiber that you're ingesting. So from a practitioner standpoint, I would say it's more important to focus on fiber than it is to cut things out.
Okay.
It's consuming more fiber when you know that you have a family history of elevated cholesterol.
Ah, okay. And what about like an omega-3 as a supplement? Does that link to helping with cholesterol as well?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So omega-3s, DHA, really great for brain and overall neurocognitive health. EPA, cardiovascular, heart health. Those two are the more well-known and understood omega-3s with regard to anti-inflammatory and helping with cholesterol management.
Yeah.
So if you're going to look at a supplement, you want to make sure that those two components are in there, the EPA and the DHA, or if they have SPM, specialized pro-resolving mediators, which are the activated forms of the EPA and the DHA once they are ingested in your system. So there are lots of omega-3s out there. ALA was one of them. People talk about flax seeds all of the time, but ALA is not EPA, nor is it DHA. Okay. So not all omega-3 supplements are necessarily created the same.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
In the wheelhouse of supplements, it's the wild, wild west out there, at least at this moment. If there's legislative change, then that will be a different conversation. As you said, it's not necessarily true tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the third-party testing, in my professional opinion, is a critical element when it comes to selecting a supplement. So third-party testing bodies basically came into existence after the federal government passed DSHEA, the Dietary Supplements Health and Education Act of 1994, in which they said we don't have the money or the manpower to regulate supplements the same way that we regulate foods. So it created the wild, wild west scenario where it's not a requirement, unless you get caught after the fact, that what's on the label is in fact contained in the product, and everything that's in the product is fully disclosed on the label.
Yeah.
So if you have a third-party tested entity who comes in and does random unannounced batch sample testing, they will then, one, put on their website, and two, they'll typically put a logo on the container that verifies that that run has been tested, that within a small margin of error, what's disclosed on the label is inside, and everything that is inside is actually disclosed on the label.
Wow. So in the world of supplements, you said, like, your approach, people come in and they want to talk about supplements, and you really want to talk about diet and fueling and food. But in the supplement world, how much out there? Because when you go to the grocery store, or a supplement place, or online, I mean, there's, omega-3, for example, comes under, there's 100 different manufacturers of omega-3.
Easily.
So you just mentioned, a way of quality assurance, but how many of these things are just like total placebo? Like
honestly, you're lucky if it's a placebo. So sometimes when new products are created, they will actually lace them with prescription meds so that people see results right out of the gate, and then they swear by this for the rest. That's 100% illegal.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So placebo is one of the better outcomes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about catalysts. So you have your client dietitian side, and then you have the performance food that you prepare and deliver. Tell us a little bit about the food preparation and delivery aspect of your business.
Absolutely. So the one-on-one consultation we call it our membership. So even if you are virtual, we still call it a membership. But basically what happens after the individual and I sit down is as a healthcare provider, I use Teamworks Nutrition as an app that I pay for their services so that I can go in and I can customize total calories, which is total energy, their macronutrient categories, their micronutrient categories. I can set reminders within it. It's just from a commonplace standpoint, it's basically like MyFitnessPal on steroids.
Okay.
So instead of things just being based on an algorithm, I take everything that we took into account, including their labs, including their body comps if they have them, including their nutrition questionnaire, and everything that we talked about. And I use that information to then determine what their goals are from a fueling standpoint. I also can put in as many meals as I want. I can put in as many snacks as I want, or as few in that scenario. So nothing is predetermined. So it's not a concrete template, if you will. The beauty of that is currently our membership is lifetime. So that app is always the clients. They have access to it forever. And some of the nicer features, if you never ever use it to log anything, is down at the bottom there are menu items. One is resources, which means every time I do a new presentation, whether it's for elite execs, elite level athletes, a local high school, any of those things, I share those resources with all of our clients. So it's continuing to grow forever. The same thing is true with the recipes tab. Every time we create a new recipe, whether we're executing it in our kitchen or not, we add it to the recipes tab. So it's also a free growing cookbook. And you can delete the app off your phone by accident as long as you re-add it and plug in your username and password. Everything's going to come right back.
Cloud.
It's all the historical data. With the logging piece, especially if I have someone virtual, because we don't have the ability to ship food, at least not as of yet. That's hopefully in the 5-ish year plan. I ask them to log their intake, and it just like everything else, it has a barcode scanner. It has, you can narrow the search to a specific restaurant to help get accurate details.
Okay.
Because then we do a follow-up. Like I said, I can't become an expert on you, and you can't know everything that I know in one, 60 to 90 minute sitting.
Yeah.
So when we do a follow-up, I ask, how is this going? Does the frequency work for you? What are your hunger and satiety cues based on what we've been working on? And if we need to make changes, we make changes. So I can put in multiple plans and programs. Calories can be the same with different macros. Calories can be different with different macros. So if I have somebody who's recovering from surgery and then they say, okay, now I'm going back to my career full time. And then in the midst of their career full time, they say, I want to go hike Mount Kilimanjaro. There are all of these different programs in there and they stay in there. So someone can toggle between them as they like based on whatever their lifetime changes are occurring.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And then in terms of the food preparation and delivery, so you said you're not delivering outside of the local area at this time, but hopefully growing to that capability. And then in terms of like, I know we do 2 deliveries a month now here. When I was your client, it was 3 meals a day, which that's the coolest thing in the world. If you haven't done that and you have the resources, I recommend you put yourself on like this 30-day program. And I don't know if you still do that or not, or if that's part of what
we're
you
actually putting together an elite package for the new 2026 that will include not only your lifetime membership, but it will include a discounted rate for 30 days of food. Okay. So that people can do the fully immersed program.
Yeah. So for all the New Year's resolution type people out there who are finally going to pay attention to their fitness, this is the best way to do it. In conjunction with physical fitness, but the fueling process is, I think, as important or more important than really anything else. It all goes together, but without the fueling process is probably a baseline for your goals. You're probably not going to hit your goals. So we do 2 deliveries here a month. You do regular, like what is a typical executive? What is their food delivery, process look like?
So with the kitchen, we have a couple of tiers of options. The most recently launched initiative is our pre-order program. Our meals are 550 to 650 calories. They contain pretty close to 45 to 55 grams of protein per meal, around 45-ish grams of carbohydrates per meal, and 20 to 30 grams of fats per meal. Okay. So people, they don't have to be a member. So we're trying to introduce people to what healthy fueling can look like. Sometimes people, they want to taste test before they buy in because they're like, well, if this tastes like cardboard, I don't want to pay for this. Yeah. And I don't blame you. Yeah. So every Tuesday by 3 p.m., we request that pre-orders be in for the upcoming week. And what that results in is Friday, you can order as many of the 2 Friday meals available as you like. And we cook them fresh on Friday, blast chill them on Friday, plate them on Friday, and then they're available for pickup or we'll deliver to you for a $5 fee. And then the second set of 2 meals, we cook, blast chill, plate, and are available for pickup or delivery the following Tuesday, which also reminds you, place your order on Tuesday by 3 p.m. for the upcoming Friday and following Tuesday. With each of those dates, you can add our protein collagen pudding to any of those meal orders.
Delicious, by the way. Had it yesterday.
Yes, thank you. So those are for people who want a taste of some things without going all in. There's no subscription required. You either place an order by Tuesday at 3 o'clock for that week or you don't.
Okay.
If you want to be on a continuous order, you basically just call or text me and let me know, and I'll make sure that your order gets repeated every week.
Okay.
We have on our website the pre-order menu. So we've created 16 meals that hold well, because the goal is what you receive on Friday is good for Friday night through Tuesday morning. And then whatever it is that you order the week before, what you get on Tuesday is good from Tuesday evening through Friday.
Okay.
So it's always fresh, never frozen. And we have 16 total menu items right now, and 4 rotate per week.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to keep the fan favorites that people order the most of, and then we're going to tease out the ones that are the least ordered, and we're going to put in some of our other menu options.
Okay. And what are what's the pricing per meal? How does that work?
So those meals, we're currently only offering the smalls, which is the calorie size that I just mentioned.
Okay.
And those are $14.29 plus tax, so they end up being $16 each within
Okay.
Virginia Beach and the state of Virginia.
Uh-huh.
We're about to launch after the holidays a large for people who are focusing on muscle gain or just larger individuals who need more calories, and those will be 850 to 1,000 calories per meal.
Okay.
With closer to 60 to 70 grams of protein per, and those are going to cost $17.75 a piece.
Okay.
Now, if you are a member, you are then open to order custom meals. Our pre-order does not contain any of our breakfast or our salad options, because we like our salads to be made fresh and consumed either the same day or the next day. But if you are a member and you order custom meals, our breakfasts are 12 plus tax, lunches are 20 plus tax, and dinners are 20 plus tax. And the reason for the higher cost is because it takes more manpower from our staff to weigh and measure, because whatever program that we have you on, if you say, hey, Cheryl, I want 5 lunches for next week, we're going to go in and we're going to auto-populate all 5 of your lunches based specifically on your calories and your macros and your micros for those lunches.
Okay. Wow, that sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. I talked to some of my network all over the country, and to my knowledge, we may be the one or one of very few who offer this customized service in the general public.
Yeah. Wow.
It happens at colleges, Olympic facilities, pro facilities. There are, and I'm not a hater, because I genuinely believe in what we are doing, and I know that some people are trying to execute that, but unless you have the software that we have and somebody who's overseeing to make sure that what is on a client sticker matches what's in their app, and what's in their app is specific to the correct meal plan that they're currently on, and a staff that understands that there's a very high attention to detail required for their positions. So we make sure that our people are fueled too. They're eligible to order as many pre-order meals as they like for themselves at no charge to them as employees. And they're weighing and measuring to make sure that everybody's meals are exact.
Yeah.
Versus some people, they can say that, but unless they've actually had their food from a caloric standpoint analyzed, or they have the software, I am not familiar with how they're actually executing it.
Wow. A lot of work, a lot of detail. So with the membership, is there a price break with the membership?
So we offer first responder and military and veteran, active duty and veteran discounts. So currently our membership is $500. The military, active duty or retired veteran and first responder is $300.
Okay, wow.
And for dependents, it's $400.
Okay.
That is now at a limited time, because that has been our price since we started in 2021. So this year we're actually going to up it to $600, and then it will be a $500 for dependents, $400 for military and first responders starting in 2026.
Okay, that's for an annual membership.
No, that's a lifetime membership.
Lifetime. Yeah. Okay. Wow. No, this is really cool. 2 questions left. First one is, well, actually 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. So, how many people on your team at Catalyst?
So our staff is currently 7.
Okay. And then you have a facility. So we're in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Yes.
Coming to you from iFly, Virginia Beach, by the way. 4th floor overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Beautiful view, beautiful conference room. If you want to use our space for your events, with Cheryl providing the performance food for lunch, get a hold of us. We have a wonderful thing we do here called Elevate Your Leadership. And we've been doing Elevate Your Leadership for about 5 years, and having performance-oriented food has been part of the program from the very beginning, because as an executive, I believe it's key to get through the day. But where was I going with the question? Catalyst, you're over here on Laskin Road in Virginia Beach, and so what? Like, is it a store that people walk in during regular store hours, or how does your storefront work?
Yes, absolutely. We are there cooking from 7 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, but our open hours for people who just want to walk in. So we have our pre-order meals that are available in our grab-and-go refrigerator. We also have our protein collagen puddings that are available in our grab-and-go refrigerator. So those hours are from noon until 3, Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
You can also come in, and online you can view it. We have a salad menu that you can come in and get at any point in time.
Okay.
So we have 6 signature salads, and then our protein options rotate based on whatever we are cooking for our custom and our pre-order meals for that week. So the protein entrees, you can do add-ons for your salad if you like. So again, all those hours are from noon until 3, Monday through Saturdays, for either grab-and-go items or custom fresh salads.
Okay, so no sit-down dining.
We do have a bar at the front of the store with a couple of chairs. So
Okay.
and we have floor-to-ceiling windows. We are not a traditional kitchen that's in a basement.
Okay.
Which is one of the reasons I picked that location. So yes, you can sit at our storefront and look out into Laskin Road. We are right across from the Heritage Market and Bay Local on Laskin Road, in between Swell Cycle Bar and VB Pub.
Okay.
On Oriole.
Yeah. Wow. Sounds young and hip.
And I don't know about all that. And thank you for mentioning, but we are now also offering catering services.
Yeah.
So feel free to contact us for any lunches, special events. We can do up to 150 people.
Wow.
Those would be buffet style, but we can do individuals for smaller parties.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I can't recommend the catering more. You know, as a leader, I have to model behavior. I have to create a culture that encourages high performance and having everybody bought into the team. And so modeling the behavior in this case by providing a performance-oriented meal for my team once every 2 weeks is where we landed. What we do is, number one, we're providing a meal that's performance-oriented. Number two, I require anybody who's going to participate in that meal to sit down with each other. And so it's
engage.
Yeah, we bring the team together, we engage, and we have wonderful conversations. And so if you're a leader of an organization, I recommend that you get a hold of Cheryl. Do this for your organization on some reoccurring basis, and the payback or the ROI increase that you will get from your team will be notable. So we talked about your location, grab and go, noon to 3, Monday through Saturday. I didn't even know that, or you probably told me and I forgot,
okay.
but that's pretty awesome. So for people in this geographic area, when you're hangry and it's lunchtime, you're like, what am I going to do? Instead of going to the drive-thru and getting something that's absolutely going to put you to sleep for the rest of the day. Go visit Cheryl on Laskin Road and get a performance-oriented meal that's going to allow you to be energetic and thrive through the rest of the day. So let's talk about address. Where on Laskin Road are you?
So 993 Laskin Road. People very often mistake us as being a demo kitchen for Stephen Alexander. They build homes and they own our building and they're very kind. But we are right next to them, and people see the word kitchen and they're like, oh, they must just be like equipment and spatulas and stuff. It's like, no, we're a storefront. We are a restaurant.
Okay, so if I'm looking for a spatula, don't go there. Gotcha.
So, you can borrow one. You got to bring it back.
Yeah, okay. So, and then a good place to visit at lunchtime if you're in the area, a great place to set up a reoccurring delivery process. Let's talk about website again real quick. How can people get a hold of you? Or is it always you, or do you have other, that's a lot for one person to do.
So it ebbs and flows. The majority of the time you're going to get me, and I respond to the support at Catalyst Nutrition, all one word, .com email address. And again, it's CATALYZT Nutrition. Our Instagram is at Catalyst_Nutrition.
Okay.
So if you check out our website and you want to see some of our food, live and in person, we're doing a much better job nowadays on social media, posting our meals and information and some educational information as well. We're going to release an updated version of our website in the beginning of December, so please keep your eye out for that. And then my email address is Cheryl, Cheryl, at catalystnutrition.com.
Catalystnutrition.com.
Yes.
Okay. Last couple of questions. Here we are. This is the Elevate Your Leadership podcast, and you own and operate an organization with 8 team members, you said? Mm-hmm. And so leading is a key part of your day, in addition to all the technical things that you do around, diet and performance-oriented food, et cetera. And you have had, I would say, the incredible opportunity of working with Naval Special Warfare Development Group and with Naval Special Warfare Command. And I think I forget what they call their training element in San Diego, but with the dietary requirements of people going through SEAL training, and then people who become SEALs, and then people who hit the graduate or the master's level. With all that, how does Cheryl Zonkowski define the word leadership?
Oh, that's a great question. Sometimes I think leadership is unintentional. And for some people, it is more innate than it is for others. The definition, again, I'm a sucker for customization, so I'm not going to give you one answer. For some people, it's just leading by example, doing all of the things that need to be done, showing, whether it's intentionally showing or just out of habit, executing the tasks, regardless of how high profile or low profile or undesirable that they are, so that your team understands that no matter who you are or what you do within the organization, no one is above or below any task or any requirement or any engagement with customer service. And then I think there's a motivation factor as well. So whether it's the way that you treat your people, the way that you treat your customers, I believe that teams, just like children, they're always watching, and not in a negative light, but they're always watching. They're always a sponge. They're absorbing everything that's happening around them. That includes the culture. It includes the music. It includes what's on the TV while people are busy doing their tasks.
Like what kind of shoes you're wearing.
Correct. It sets the tone. What is the uniform? What is the attire for the organization? And hopefully there is a sense of innate motivation. And if not, the team has a well-established enough relationship and rapport with each other to be able to say things like, oh, hey, we missed this. Let me help you add it. Or, hey, I'm noticing that such and such is short on whatever this item is. Do we still have enough? Does somebody need to make more? So having situational awareness, not only about your task, but the tasks around you, and being able to offer advice or guidance or questions in ways that aren't negative.
For sure. Yeah. But you always want to be helpful, not hurtful. Yeah, totally. And that's you hit some pinnacles within my approach to leadership there.
Hard lessons learned.
Yeah, for sure. Help each other out, lift each other up, and when necessary, call each other out in a way that is helpful, not hurtful. So I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay. Last question for Cheryl. What haven't I asked you? Is there anything that we haven't shared with our listeners that you think is important?
I think you've done a pretty excellent job so far. However, I have one thing that I want to put out there, and we did talk about it, to be fair.
All right.
Is the protein collagen puddings.
Okay.
Yes. So we make a signature product. It actually was developed for a number of different reasons. One was a gastric restructure for one client who couldn't consume solid foods.
Wow.
Simultaneously, another client was diagnosed with cancer and undergoing chemotherapy. And this development actually occurred when we were demoing out of the kitchen in my home and cooking meals for 5 to 10 people at a time, to finalize our recipes and portions and where we were sourcing our food from, which is also something that we take significant pride in. But the protein collagen puddings are almond butter based, and it is the one thing in our kitchen that does contain dairy. So we use organic whole milk. Otherwise, everything in our meals is dairy, gluten, soy, and peanut free.
Oh, wow.
In an effort to help people decrease systemic inflammation, just because those can be triggers. It doesn't mean that you can never eat them or you can never go back to them.
Yeah.
It's just something that we are mindful of, because we want our food to be available for everyone. But yes, as far as the protein collagen puddings, it is organic almond butter, organic whole milk, and then we use a third-party tested protein powder, either chocolate or vanilla, depending on the flavor, and we use a third-party tested collagen. And then I'm not going to give away our signature spices, but they're signature spices.
Okay.
Our year-round options are almond butter chocolate and almond butter vanilla caramel, but right now it's seasonal almond butter pumpkin spice.
Of course.
Yes, so we have that now through probably Christmas. We're, fingers crossed, we're in development of something that will be our winter seasonal flavor. But what's amazing about these puddings
Can I recommend a rum flavor?
We didn't get into alcohol today either. The macros are completely balanced. So they will have approximately 20, so it's either 19 or 21 depending on the flavor. 20 grams of carbohydrates, 20 grams of protein, and 10 grams of fat for approximately 200 calories per 4-ounce serving.
Wow.
So from a mental acuity standpoint, if you need something quick in the middle of the day, it is a sweet treat that doesn't have the negative blood sugar crash side effects of something that is very, very carbohydrate dense without being paired appropriately with proteins, fats, and fibers. It's also a really great evening snack in place of sleeves of cookies or ice cream. Or whatever. And it does have the dairy component from the organic whole milk and the whey isolate as far as precursors to tryptophan, and then whey and casein, the fast and the slower acting protein sources.
Wow.
So we're looking out for you, even if you're not looking out for you. We do deliver them to organizations. We have a couple of affiliates that are gyms. We have a couple of affiliates that are physical therapy clinics. I would consider you guys an affiliate. You get them every 2 weeks for your staff.
For sure.
So there's opportunity out there if people just want to carry them in their facilities, and then we can drop them off on Fridays or Tuesdays when we're doing our delivery rounds if anybody's interested.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the delivery process is seamless. It's reliable. And again, it's just such a wonderful thing for our team to participate in. And again, they know as a leader, I'm looking out for their best interest. And this is really critical to the organization. I think to any organization is to have some program like this in place. But I had the pudding yesterday. It's wonderful, and of course you had to do the pumpkin spice. So Cheryl, this has been a fascinating discussion, and thank you so much. There's so much depth and so much scope to everything you do. And, I've known you since 2018, and to finally have this level of discussion is awesome. So thank you so much for coming on the Elevate Your Leadership podcast.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to the Elevate Your Leadership podcast. To contact Bob directly or to learn more about how Bob can advance you and your organization through leadership training, team building, executive coaching, and public speaking, visit robertpizzini.com. Robert, Pizzini.com, and connect with him on LinkedIn.